Hi everyone, I'm currently out trying to photograph the meteor shower that's happening right now. Tonight is supposed to be when the meteor shower is at its peak, the Geminid Meteor Shower. It's currently, I think, about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm using the torch on my phone to light my face so you can see me, so apologies for the harsh light. But I'm currently at Carlisle Castle because I thought it'd be a really good photo if I could get Carlisle Castle with a meteor passing through. I thought that would look really good. Whether or not I'm going to be able to get it is another thing, but I've set up. Really happy with my composition. It's just whether or not I can get that meteor passing through it. So give you an idea of my settings. So I'm at the widest aperture that I can get to on my lens, which is f2.8, which should be wide enough. About a 20-second exposure, which is as long as I can go without getting star trails. ISO, I'm kind of playing about with a bit, just experimenting with that. At the moment I'm at 640, which seems to be pretty good. And I'm getting some nice photos. It's just whether or not I get the meteor passing through it. So I've got it on burst mode, so it just keeps taking photos, and hopefully I'll get one. So I am in the city, but because Carlisle is a small city, the light pollution isn't too bad. So sorry, I keep looking up. Because it's a small city, the light pollution isn't too bad, so you can still see the stars. Admittedly, it had been a pretty cloudy day leading into tonight, and I was in two minds whether or not I was going to come out and photograph or not, because originally it was so cloudy. And then just before I was going to go to bed, I had one last look out the window to see if it had cleared up, which it had. So I thought, right, I'll come out and take some photos. So I got my equipment together, headed out to my car, and just stood outside my flat, looked up to the sky, and you could really see a lot of stars. I saw a lot of meteors, a lot of shooting stars. So I thought, right, this is looking good. And then I drove to the castle. I got out of my car, looked up to the sky, and it was just black. And I thought, oh no, this isn't going to work. But then within a few seconds, I saw a really bright shooting star. So I thought, okay, maybe. So then I set up, and actually, I think the very first shot I took, meteor actually passed through. Unfortunately, I think it was just a bit too faint. You can't really see it. And I am worried that unless I get a really, really bright shooting star, I am worried that they're just going to be too faint in my photo. There's another one just past there. So I'm just going to keep snapping away and just hope that a bright one passes through my frame. I'm going to stay here as long as I can until I run out of space on my memory card. It's nice like this that you wish you had a bigger memory card. I really don't think this is going to happen. I'm losing confidence by the minute. Annoyingly, as I was in between taking photos, I was just checking my focus on the photos that I had took, and I'm sure one passed through my frame then, just as I was in between taking photos. So that was annoying. And then a bit later, I was certain one passed through my frame as I was taking a photo, and I checked my image, and there was nothing, no shooting star in my frame. So I don't know if it just didn't quite reach my frame, or if it just wasn't bright enough for my camera to pick up. I don't know, but that was annoying as well. And then just a few minutes ago, I saw an absolutely brilliant shooting star. It was so bright, and it just went across the whole sky. It was brilliant. But annoyingly, it wasn't in the direction my camera was facing. So that was really annoying. And so then I changed the position of my camera. I thought, right, maybe that's the way to aim my camera. Maybe that's the peak of it. So I faced my camera in that direction, and then one passed through where I had originally been. So it's just so frustrating. I had no idea this would be so frustrating. Obviously, there's so much luck involved, whether or not one passes through your frame or not. And annoyingly, there just doesn't seem to be much happening now either. I've been here for about an hour, and yeah, there doesn't seem to be much happening now, unfortunately. One passed through there. Please say I got that one. That looked good. If that doesn't show up in my photo, then there's no hope for me, because that looked good. Just as I was saying, there's not much happening now, and then that happened. Oh, please say I got it. It's so faint, so faint. Oh, you can just see it, but it is faint. Let me try and show you. I've zoomed right in. Ever so faint. And that's zoomed right in. If I zoom out, it's difficult to see. Maybe I can bring it out a little bit in Lightroom, but I don't know. But that has restored my faith a little bit anyway. Maybe there is a chance after all. Just as I was saying, there's not much happening now. So there is still some, obviously. Yeah, like I said, it had been so cloudy, so I didn't think it was worth coming out here to begin with. I kept looking out my window of my flat all night, checking to see if it had cleared up. And just as I was about to go to bed, like I said, it cleared up. And so I looked out my window for a while to see if there was much happening. And I saw a lot. There was a lot. And for whatever reason now, there isn't anywhere near as many. I don't know if it's because I missed the peak of it, or perhaps there's a bit more light pollution. There was another one, but not where my camera is again. But yeah, there was definitely more happening early on in the night. So not as much now, but I'm going to stay here until I can't take any more photos and just pray that I get one. And I am bloody freezing. I was really tired tonight as well, actually, because I didn't get much sleep the previous night. So I was really tired. But then when I looked out my window, saw it had cleared up, and saw so many shooting stars, I thought, right, I've got to go out. So yeah, we'll keep trying anyway, until I run out of space on my card. And just hope that I get one. So it's the day after the night before now, and I came away from last night feeling pretty frustrated and disappointed because I thought I'd spent all that time standing in the freezing cold, taking hundreds of photos, and I thought I'd came away from it with nothing. I didn't think I'd gotten any photos at all. But now that I've been through all my photos and edited them all, I've actually ended up with more than I thought. In the end, I've ended up with about 4 photos that I'm quite pleased with, and where there's a clear shooting star. So definitely more than what I first thought. So in the end, definitely worthwhile. It was weird because at the time, part of me kind of enjoyed it, and part of me just found it so frustrating that I'd see shooting stars but not passing through where I was aiming my camera. And yeah, it was a funny one. It was kind of partly enjoyable but partly frustrating as well. But definitely something I will do again though. But I did mention my settings at the time, but I'll go through them again now. So if you are doing any kind of night sky photography, then what you will need is you need a wide angle lens. You want to be able to get as much of the sky in your frame as possible, obviously to increase your chances of shooting stars if that's what you're doing. But yeah, certainly a wide angle lens, and one that will allow you to shoot at a wide aperture, as wide an aperture as you can. So my lens opens to f2.8, and if your lens opens wider than that, then even better. I would say f2.8 is about sort of the minimum that you will need in order to really be able to get a clear night sky. So if you can go to f1.5 or something like that, then that's perfect. In terms of shutter speed, to avoid star trails, there's actually a formula that will tell you how long you can shoot for before you get star trails. So if you're using a full frame camera, what you do is you divide 600 by whatever focal point you are at. So if you're shooting at 18mm, you would divide 600 by 18, and that will tell you how long you can open your shutter for before you get star trails. And if you're using a crop sensor camera like me, you can use the same formula. All you do is change the 600 for 400. So I was shooting at 18mm, so all I done was divide 400 by 18, and from that, I think that is like 23.3 or something like that. So I was shooting at 20 seconds for all of my shots. And ISO, in terms of doing night photography, high ISO is actually your friend. It's not like landscape photography where you want to be shooting at low an ISO as possible. When you're doing night sky, a high ISO is actually good. There's no specific figure I can give you, but just kind of play about with it until you find the sweet spot. But you do actually want to be photographing at quite a high ISO to really, obviously it's going to be dark. But as long as you're getting the exposure right, then you won't see a lot of noise, even at a high ISO. Thing is, if you're using a low ISO and you're then underexposing your image, when you try to really bring out all of that detail in post-processing, you might have to raise the exposure by two stops, say, maybe more. And you're really going to have to do a lot of adjustments in Lightroom if you're underexposing your images. And it's when you're doing that you really see the noise. If you're making huge adjustments to Lightroom, say increasing the exposure by 2 or 3 stops, that is when you really see the noise, even though you have shot at a low ISO. So don't be afraid to shoot at a high ISO in night photography. If you get the exposure right, then you won't see much noise. So just play about with it until you find the sweet spot. I was photographing anywhere between 640 and 1200 ISO. I generally found either 640 or 800 was about the sweet spot for me. But don't forget as well, I was photographing in the city, so there was a bit more ambient light as well. So had I been shooting somewhere rural, in a rural location where there wasn't as much ambient light, then I'd probably be photographing at an even higher ISO. And I found a good way to really bring out the shooting stars in your images, because in some of my photos where I noticed there was shooting stars in the image, some of them were quite faint. So to really bring them out in your photos, I found a really simple and easy way to do that. In Photoshop, use the polygonal lasso tool, and using that you'll really easily be able to select the shooting star, and then once you've selected it, all I done was just increase the brightness. That's it, just increase the brightness, and it'll really bring out the shooting star, make it much more clear and vibrant in your photo. So that is a really simple and easy way of bringing them out in your photos afterwards. But the biggest tip I can give anyone doing night sky photography is to wear 2 pairs of socks. My feet were absolutely freezing. It was a very icy night that night as well. Yeah, my feet by the end of it were just absolutely frozen. In fact, when I came back home afterwards and I got into bed, and I couldn't sleep that night, even though I was so tired and hadn't had much sleep previous to that anyway. I just couldn't sleep because I was so cold. My feet especially was so cold, and it took my feet, even once I was in bed with a thick duvet over me, it took my feet, I don't know, well over an hour and a half to even remotely warm up. So definitely wear 2 pairs of socks. That's the biggest tip I can give you. But other than that, just go out and enjoy it. If you're photographing a meteor shower, then you definitely need patience, definitely need an element of luck as well. So just be patient and enjoy it. Don't get too frustrated. Make sure you wrap up warm, maybe take a flask of tea or coffee. And yeah, like I say, don't get too frustrated, because as with what happened with me the other night, you might come away thinking you didn't get anything, but then when you go through the images later, you might end up with more than what you thought. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If anyone watching this photographed the meteors the other night as well, then I'd love to see your images. So put a comment in below with a link to where I can see your images. I'd love to see other people's as well. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.